And so I was like, okay, let's think about this. Let's think about what it would really mean for Android PCs, real Android PCs, to be a winner in the marketplace. Maybe that's going too far. To exist in the marketplace and not be completely ignored, maybe that's a good start. This is a multifaceted conversation. So in my original video, which I may post somewhere someday, I talked a lot about the differences between device settings options in ChromeOS and Android 16 today. And I talked about a lot of the accessibility features and the device features, like what you can do with your mouse, what you can do with your touchpad, what you can do with some dexterity settings and audio settings and talkback and live caption, and all of that stuff is extremely important. And Android definitely needs to take whatever ChromeOS has that it doesn't today and build on it so that there's a solid platform for people of all abilities and all capabilities to be able to use the platform successfully the way they see fit. That's absolutely key. It's foundational, it's cornerstone. But you can have a great platform with awesome hardware support for mice and printers and monitors, and all of these things are really important hubs. And even some of the niche things that some of us, YouTube creator types care about, like audio interfaces and MIDI devices and microphones and webcams and cameras, and all that stuff is super important because you can do all of that stuff with Windows or Mac today. You can do a lot of that already with an Android device today and with an iPad today. But what really makes something a PC? I think a lot of this comes down to what is the software support going to be like for Android PC. We already have a big divide today between Android and iPad, much less with Windows and Mac, and what software you can get for your Android device to do whatever it is you want to do. There's Office software packages out there, and you can use, Word type and Excel type software packages, and some of them are okay, a lot of them are not. If you spent any time, doing serious work in Excel or PowerPoint or even Word, you know that the Android versions are not up to snuff. They are not anywhere near as good as they need to be. They're also not very good on iPad either, but that doesn't make me feel any better, because if we're talking about having a PC, something that's going to be used in schools and in professional environments, that needs to get better. And the creator software needs to get better as well. We need to be able to have software that we can use for video editing and audio editing, and I need to be able to connect my MIDI keyboard and do all of the stuff that I want to do in Windows, which I can't do really fully today. And not fully. Yes, there are applications out there for creators. There are some digital audio workstations and some video editing apps that are out there. Nothing, though, is what I would consider pro level. Like, there's no Pro Tools, there's no Ableton Live, there's not even DaVinci Resolve for Android, not even a version like the one they have on iPad. It doesn't exist yet. So software support is really important. I think Google needs to start with the big suppliers of software, your Microsofts and your Adobes and some of these big makers, because the indies are going to go, the small developers are going to go where the money is. They're going to continue to make applications for Windows and Mac for pro level, tasks, and they're going to continue to make probably a lot of the creative artistic apps for iPad, because we know that a lot of the artistic, community likes the iPad for the Apple Pencil. And although Wacom EMR pens that are available for some Windows devices and some Android devices, some might even consider superior, it doesn't matter if the software support isn't there. So you need to be able to get your work done. You need to be able to get your play done. You need to be able to get your entertainment done. Some of these things exist in some form or another in Android, but Google has to get really serious about this. If I can't, do a lot of the things that I use my Windows PC for today, which would be audio and video production predominantly, and then, using more full-featured browsers. Obviously, it's going to be a ChromeOS replacement. It's going to have full-featured Chrome, and it should have, all of the extensions that we've come to be used to on Chrome. But I want to see it expand even beyond that. I want to be able to use, Arc browser, the real Arc browser. I want to be able to use the real Firefox. I want to be able to use the real Zen browser. I want it to actually be a desktop-level operating system someday. I know I'm not going to get that on day one. I'm probably not going to get that on day 365 or whatever. But if you want to call something a PC and you want something to actually be a viable desktop operating system, replace Chrome OS and become, a new platform that, kids will grow up on and expect to use in their adult lives, then it's got to be a lot more robust than it is today. And it's hardware, it's software, it's everything. I don't have the confidence today that Google's going to get there. I don't know what their aim is, though. I know that's what my hope is. That's what my desire would be out of an Android PC, is that it would really step up and be a PC and really be able to compete with Windows and Mac, at least in certain niches and certain circles. I think that there's just a long way to go in terms of software support and, to a lesser degree, hardware support. What do you think when you think of an Android PC? What comes to mind? Do you think of just your Android tablet, but now it's got, a touchpad and a keyboard and it runs the stuff that it runs a day? Or when you hear that an Android PC is going to replace Chrome OS, you think, okay, well, at least it needs to have a full-fledged Chrome browser. What else do you expect? Do you expect it to be able to compete with Windows and Mac, or do you think it's okay for it to just be very simply a Chrome OS replacement with no additional aspirations? I'm really curious what the mass market would think of an Android PC, what they would expect from that, and where they would want it to go in the future. Maybe no one really wants an Android PC to replace Windows or Mac. Maybe that dual level of competition is really where we are, and maybe that's just where things are going to be. I don't know. I think with the rumors of Apple putting touchscreens on Macs, I think that more than ever, Windows, Microsoft and Google really need to be thinking about the future of computing. We may be at a pivot point with computing, not even just with the competition from glasses and pins and little doodads that you can hook on whatever, your clothes or slip in your pocket, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of competition in computing like there hasn't been before. And if PCs, whatever that means to whomever's saying that word, are going to be a future, I just think they need to expand and do so much more. And they need to integrate better. Link to Windows is great if you've got a Samsung phone, but it could do a lot more. The phone hub in Chrome OS works pretty great if you've got, an Android phone, especially if you have a Pixel. It's pretty good, but it could go so much further. There's so much more integration that I think that Google and Microsoft probably need to do in order to take on Apple and really have both of those platforms compete better. I just don't know if anybody's really willing to partner on this like they really need to in order to make this a three-party competition. But again, maybe we can't handle a three-party competition. So I'm really curious. What do you all think? Do you think Android PC will have any kind of success? Do you think we need it? Do you think this is the right direction for Google to take? Or do you think, at some point now it'll just be another member of the Google Deadpool? That list is already too long. So Google, don't screw this one up.